Spenser Confidential is the Peter Berg, Mark Wahlberg remake of an old TV show, Netflix original movie that is just kind of meh and not really worth the watch, to be honest. The film stars Mark Wahlberg, Winston Duke is his roommate once he gets out of prison. Alan Arkin is kind of his friend. A couple other bit players that pop up in the film. It's one of those movies that basically the premise is you've got an honest cop that makes a mistake. He goes to jail. He gets out. When he gets out, he's gonna, try to right the system, so to speak, and go from there. And it's a good old Marky Mark film in terms of that. It's an action comedy styled film that really kind of seems like a more comedic take on, like, say, the Jack Reacher series, where you have this former cop investigator that comes in and tries to help out people who seem to have got the short end of a stick or been convicted or accused of a crime. Specifically in this instance, once he gets out of prison, Mark Wahlberg, he learns that the guy who he got in a fight with that sent him into prison, who was his police captain, is killed viciously, and then another officer supposedly commits suicide, and that is the officer who killed his captain, which he doesn't believe because he knew the officer who quote-unquote suicided himself, and he knows that it's out of character for the person. So from there, the film kind of takes this like PI-ish kind of stance where it turns to trying to go and look at and see where the corruption is, but it does it in a very comical aspect because Mark Wahlberg's character in the film is not very competent at doing this. He may have been an okay police officer. He can fight really well, and they make a point of showing that, but his fights are kind of cheesy and childish a little bit. Especially he gets in a fight with Post Malone in the opening moments of the film, and then Post Malone's character comes back up again later in the film to provide this little bit of information that it proves helpful. There's kind of a reference that Post Malone's part of like this white supremacist gang in prison, and it's a little bit cheesy and doesn't really make a lot of sense. So from there, they progress to trying to, to find out who actually killed this guy. Mark Wahlberg goes to the scene, finds an all-important clue, a toothpick or golf tee, something like that, and his old partner, who comes and sees him right after the captain's death is announced, and it's like, you didn't do it, did you? No. He's always chewing on that toothpick or golf tee. So right in the very opening moments of the film, you got something that probably shows his ex-partner, who appears to be good, is actually a bad guy. Alan Arkin's pretty funny in this movie, is this cantankerous old guy who is pretty witty, got a couple jokes here and there, and really just beats to the sound of his own drum. And it's okay, but it's kind of trying in a lot of moments. It happens kind of haphazardly as he just bumbles his way through the plot of the film. There's also some machete-wielding drug dealers that are maybe like some Jamaican-ish gang kind of styled characters. It doesn't really give them any backstory. Just says they're there, and then you find out that the cop that suicided himself actually mailed a wire to his wife, gives it to Mark Wahlberg. You find out that he was working for the feds and trying to talk his captain into, admitting to the crime. His captain admits who runs it, and it's actually Mark Wahlberg's partner that runs it. And then he finds out after he talks to Post Malone again in prison that the name Wonderland means something. What it means is that there's a tract called Wonderland that a bunch of seedy investors, along with a couple dirty cops and some drug dealers, what they're doing is they're building up this casino to make legitimate styled money and all this jazz. And it just kind of beats you over the head with some of these elements of the film, because a lot of them don't really make sense. It's really contrived in how it's put together because it progresses really fast. Characters just seem to luck upon things. They get out of sticky situations. I don't know how many times Mark Wahlberg's in like a 5-on-1 brawl and somehow successfully gets away. Outside of Alan Arkin's character and Winston Duke's portrayal as this kind of hard-nosed ex-gangster or guy that got in prison, ex-convict who wants to be an MMA fighter. There's a couple moments between them that's kind of funny and livens it up a little bit, but doesn't really help this film. This just seems to be like another Marky Mark semi-action comedy that he's trying to do that doesn't really make a lot of sense. I don't think it's a very good film. I wouldn't recommend watching this film. It's on Netflix, so it's free to watch if you got Netflix. So you can go ahead and head over there and watch it there. But like I said, it's not something I would typically recommend. It's one of Marky Mark's kind of middling works, and just kind of really should not have been made in this instance because it's not that good. But outside of that, thank you for watching. Feel free to like, subscribe, and share, and have a good day.